Mycareer used to be one of the best modes in 2K, back when you could easily play for hours and the grind actually felt rewarding. But over the years, that slowly changed, turning Mycareer into a mode that looked completely different. Today, we're going year by year from 2K10 when Myplayer first started, all the way to Mycareer in 2K26, to see when it went from an enjoyable mode to an expensive grind you'd rather skip than actually play.
Hey, great game, DJ.
Man, you.
To understand how we got here, we have to go all the way back to 2K10. 2K10 was the first year 2K introduced what would eventually become Mycareer, but back then, it was simply called MyPlayer. There were no cutscenes and no storyline telling you who you were supposed to be. You were just another guy trying to make the league, and while creating your guy, you picked a playstyle. Whether you chose pass first, athletic, scoring, defensive, 3-point specialist, or just wanted an all-around build. Depending on which one you chose, your starting attributes were shaped around that choice. And your height, that mattered too. The taller you were at your position, the slower you earned skill points. And that was 2K's early attempt at trying to balance builds. And the grind, that was one of the craziest we've ever seen. You started off around a 35 to 40 overall, and progression worked completely different. Everything was based off skill points. There was no VC, no microtransactions. The only way to upgrade your guy was by playing well on the court. And before you even reached the NBA, the grind started with the draft combine. And that was if you bought the DLC for $5. If you did, you went through a mix of drills, mini games, and scrimmages to try and raise your draft stock. Play well, you could go higher in the draft. And after the draft, you still weren't safe. You had to grind through 6 summer circuit games, then survive through 4 training camp games just to earn a roster spot. But at any given time, you could get cut and then sent to rot in the D League. And that's where you'd have to grind your way back to the NBA. And instead of a story, entertainment came from things like the 2K Insider, who constantly was commenting on what was going on in your career, just making everything feel like it mattered way more than it actually did.
Why are you sitting there doing nothing? Let's get going.
Overall, 2K10 established the foundation for one of the biggest modes in 2K. And with the foundation set, 2K started to build on it with 2K11. 2K11 took what 2K10 built and made it way better. The draft combine returned, but this time you didn't have to pay for it. And instead of drills and minigames, it was simplified to 3 games to prove yourself against the upcoming draft class. And wherever you got drafted, you would have to play 4 summer circuit games. And once again, those would determine if you were even good enough to be in the NBA. And these weren't exactly easy, because once again, you started at around a 40 overall. But once you did finally make the league, 2K11 added features that made your career feel more alive. This was the first year we got press conferences where you'd answer questions after games, and they affected team chemistry, fan support, and even your league-wide popularity. And that mattered because this year they also added endorsements. So if you played well enough, you could sign deals and earn things like magazine covers, billboards, and even your own signature shoe. The grind was still insane, but back then, that's what made it feel so rewarding. And reaching a 99 in these games actually felt special, simply because of what it took to get there. And back then, you had way more obstacles that you had to overcome. Your player could randomly just get injured, and then you could either play through it or sim until he's healthy. And if you played back then, most of the time you'd be happy your dude got hurt because there was no other way to sim through the year, and you would have to play every single game. So this definitely helped getting through the season faster. Overall, 2K11 took everything that worked in 2K10 and made it even better. And for a lot of people, this is the year they really fell in love with MyPlayer. And that brings us to 2K12. 2K12 was all about simplifying how your career worked. This was the year 2K replaced the draft combine with the rookie showcase. Instead of playing a bunch of games, you had one showcase game to prove yourself. And after that game, 2K had something brand new called pre-draft interviews. That's where you'd interview with 3 teams that were interested in you. And there were a bunch of different answers, and you could even tell them that you didn't want to go there. And then at the end of the interview, they would decide if they actually still wanted to draft you.
With any luck, you'll fall to us in the draft.
And once you made it to the league, this is where 2K12 quietly changed how progression worked. Skill points were still used strictly to upgrade your guy, but they added the first forms of what we now know as badges. They were called abilities, and you would use skill points to upgrade these, but they were for specific moves. So if you wanted to get better at something like a step back jumper, you actually had to upgrade it. And while skill points were still used to upgrade your abilities and player, when it came to everything else, animations, team dinners, you had to use your actual NBA salary. The money you earned wasn't just a number anymore. When your contract was up, you could ask for more minutes, more money, or try to balance both. This year also gave you the ability to play your next key game, which let you skip straight to the important games instead of grinding every single game of the season. 2K12 wasn't flashy, but it helped push Mycareer forward, even if the mode would look completely different later on. That brings us to 2K13. 2K13 was the year the mode officially changed its name from MyPlayer to Mycareer, and it was a turning point year for the mode. This was the year VC was introduced. For the first time, everything you did in the entire game was tied to one currency. So you didn't just earn VC in Mycareer, you could earn in any mode and spend it everywhere. And more importantly, you could now buy it with real money, making the grind to 99 feel way less important. 2K basically realized how much people cared about their players, and they leaned into it. This led to things like the Mycareer shop and the 2K closet. Now, you weren't just hooping, you were also dressing for the occasion. You could buy suits for the draft, different outfits for press conferences, and to make you feel like you had more control, 2K13 introduced the GM sit-down. For the first time, you could have a meeting with the GM. You could request a trade, demand more playing time, or even try and get rid of a teammate by asking for them to be traded away. It gave you a level of control we never seen before, making it feel like you actually had a say in the team's future. Another really cool addition was the Legend training camps. That's where you could spend your VC to train with all-time greats like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, or Hakeem Olajuwon. They'd run you through specific drills, and if you completed them, you'd get permanent attribute boosts. And it was another cool way to upgrade your guy. And we can't forget about the iconic accessories. Probably the most famous one was those Dwight Howard arm sleeves. And on the court, 2K13 introduced signature skills, another early version of the badge system. You could equip up to 5 skills, and it gave you another way to personalize your guy's playstyle. And the only downside was you didn't actually earn them, you just bought whatever ones you wanted. So once again, VC created another bad habit. Overall, while 2K13 added some amazing features, by tying progression and cosmetics to VC, the pure skill point based grind of the early years was gone.
I've got to be honest here. I don't think we're headed in the right direction at all.
When 2K became a movie, 2K14. 2K14 was the year everything changed on Next Gen. This was the first year 2K introduced a fully scripted story with cutscenes, and it changed the vibe of the mode forever. This was the introduction of your first real rival named Jackson Ellis, and the game made sure you got annoyed every time you played him. And honestly, him talking trash before the rookie showcase actually made the game feel way more important.
The whole world's gonna be watching.
Oh, really?
When I blow, really?
And the draft felt way more competitive too, because this year you only got a VC bonus if you got drafted before him. If he went before you missed out on that extra VC. But one of the coolest parts, that came from the choice system. 2K14 gave you multiple paths and multiple different endings based on how you handled each decision. At one point, your teammates would invite you to go out and party. You had the choice to stay in and watch film or go out and celebrate. If you chose to party, the game would literally show you waking up late for practice, and your minutes would actually get cut. This was also the first year that they gave you an agent. You started with your childhood best friend, but as you got better, a super agent would approach you. You had to decide, stay loyal to your day one friend, or dump him for the big time guy who could get you endorsements way faster.
Oh, this is your agent. Good luck with that, bro.
2K14 was the first time your decisions felt just as important as your jump shot. And whether it was a good thing or not, it set the stage for every story mode that followed.
You know, you keep playing video games, your brain is gonna turn to mush.
One of the last years that you had control, 2K15. After 2K14 made you a first round pick, 2K15 completely flipped the script and made you an underdog. And you went completely undrafted and had to earn your way into the league through tryouts and a 10-day contract. Each team required you to get a certain grade, and then even after you got the 10-day contract, if you didn't perform, you'd actually get cut and have to start all over with another team.
We appreciate the contribution, and it's time we parted ways.
But 2K15 did give us one legendary feature. You could actually choose your player's voice. You had multiple options for how your guy sounded in every cutscene, which makes a lot of sense, but for some reason 2K eventually would just strip it away.
And you gonna know that you was dead wrong.
But this year, 2K also changed how progression worked. This was the first year you had a limited amount of upgrades, forcing you to choose exactly what you wanted to max out and what to sacrifice. But 2K also gave us the My Court. Finally, you had your own court where you could shoot around or practice certain moves. And this year, free agency was interesting. You would choose 3 teams, and instead of negotiating, they would send players from each team to your apartment. That's where they tried to convince you to sign with them.
I'm gonna call my agent right now.
Or you could tell them no, and you wanted to wait to see how things played out. On top of that, signature skills were gone, and badges were officially introduced. And for the first time, you couldn't just buy them, you actually had to earn them. For example, if you wanted Dimer, you'd have to do things like record 300 assists in a single season. Overall, 2K15 was the last time the story and the player decisions actually felt balanced, and you still felt in control while going through a brand new experience.
Come on. Who died?
That brings us to 2K16. 2K16 was the year 2K went full Hollywood. They brought in legendary director Spike Lee to create a story called Living the Dream, and it completely changed the structure of Mycareer going forward. For the first time, you experienced the full journey, starting in high school, committing to a college, and then entering the NBA draft. And the builder got way more restricted. You only had the chance to choose between 3 styles: inside, outside, or balanced. And the taller you made your guy, the less speed he was going to have. And this year, the Off-court features were some of the best we've ever seen. They introduced connections where you could hang out with NBA stars to earn rewards and custom animations. Free agency, that got an upgrade too. You could negotiate with up to 3 teams for more money, minutes, or both. But if you got too greedy, GMs would straight up back out of the deal. And when it came to the story, you either loved or hated it. It really just depended if you enjoyed cutscenes or not. Because the story itself wasn't that bad, but it also completely destroyed the original Mycareer experience. Because it was a movie with only one path. It didn't matter what you wanted to do, you were locked into being Freak, and every single player had the same family, same drama, and same ending.
Put Vic on the phone.
I can't do that, sir.
For most people, it was a legendary story, but it was also the moment having control was sacrificed for the sake of a script, establishing a formula that 2K still uses to this day.
You two know I'm dyslexic.
It's dyslexic.
The year of orange juice, 2K17. 2K17 kicked things off with the Prelude, which was a demo that actually let you play through college and start your career before the game even dropped. And this year, they replaced Freak with the president of basketball, or Prez, and they also introduced archetypes. Instead of building a guy that could do it all, you were locked into a specific playstyle like sharpshooter, slasher, or lockdown defender. And instead of being built like the best player in the league, you were basically a glorified role player. And for the first time, your weight and wingspan actually mattered too. If you wanted long arms to lock people up, you had to accept your jump shot was going to take a hit. The story this year revolved around your duo, Justice Young, played by Michael B. Jordan, which gave us the iconic orange juice.
That fresh squeeze?
Which also gave us the orange juice takeover, where you could actually control both you and Justice Young, and this was awesome, especially for badge grinding. And speaking of badges, those got an upgrade this year too, because they added Hall of Fame badges, making them even more valuable than they were before. And they also introduced the first version of a takeover by giving us the Grand badge. On top of all this, you still had relationship drama with yet another girlfriend.
You want to show me it?
Okay, sure.
Along with the story of Denver Levins, your friend constantly fighting for a roster spot and getting cut over and over again.
What's up?
We're going out.
Oh, you guys are dating. Nice.
2K also kept the connection system, and again, doing stuff like hanging out with Coach K would unlock things like the brand new jump shot creator, a feature that's still one of the most important parts of the game today. 2K17 was one of the last enjoyable years of my career, but it honestly started to feel like you were building a role player instead of a superstar.
Orange juice?
When the downfall first started, 2K18. 2K18 was the year things got weird, starting with the introduction of the new neighborhood. Instead of simply buying everything from one menu, if you wanted a haircut, tattoo, or even a pair of shoes, you were forced to run all around the map, all while finding every possible way to put microtransactions in your face at every corner. The story itself forced you into the role of DJ, a guy who literally quit basketball to pursue a DJ career, only to make an NBA roster after playing in one street ball tournament. Like, honestly, who wrote this?
Hey, great game, DJ.
Man, you.
And to make things worse, you were stuck with your roommate, B Fresh, who is still considered one of the most hated characters in any 2K. And then there was your rival, ATM, the guy you played against in the street ball tournament, who somehow followed you all the way to the NBA. And the builder, that evolved into dual archetypes. So now you could be a specialist at 2 things instead of 1. But the problem, 2K introduced the road to 99, making the grind the longest it's ever been, forcing you to earn a massive amount of my points just to unlock the next overall and upgrade your glorified role player. And even badges changed, and now you were watching a progression bar instead of actually having a clear path on how to get it. But one of the worst parts about 2K18 was now, once the servers get shut down in 2 years, you weren't even able to play Mycareer anymore, and your player would just die with the servers. All the money you spent on VC and the hundreds of hours you grinded into your guy was all for nothing. Overall, after 2K18, Mycareer never felt the same because the priorities had clearly changed.
What up, Dizzle D?
Nah, don't do that, bro. Sorry. Hey, TJ.
That leads us to 2K19. One of the best things about 2K19 was that they finally let you skip cutscenes. That being said, this year still forced you into the shoes of AI, and yet another scripted storyline. And this year, they sent you to China, where you'd eventually earn your way to the G League. And of course, they also gave you another girlfriend. But to be honest, at this point, the game was relying way too much on cutscenes.
What video? What? Come on.
The best part about this year was the gameplay was actually pretty solid, and this was the first year they gave us an actual takeover, which gave you the chance to completely take over a game once your guy got hot. They also fixed the neighborhood layout, moving it back to a square design so you didn't have to run a marathon just to buy a pair of socks. But even with better gameplay and good changes, the same old problems were still there. Dual archetypes returned, along with Road to 99, and you were still a glorified role player. Overall, 2K19 was still a pretty good game, but the offline Mycareer experience just seemed to keep getting worse.
Don't say anything. Just watch this.
What are you doing, step bro?
One of the last enjoyable years, 2K20. In 2K20, you played as Che, a college standout who sits out the biggest game of his career in protest after his best friend loses his scholarship due to injury. The story featured well-known actors and looked solid on paper, but it was still another fully scripted journey, and at this point, a lot of people were getting really sick of it. But the biggest change, that came with progression. Road to 99 was officially removed, and instead, progression shifted entirely to my points. But once you hit a 95 overall, the grind completely changed. 2K introduced a new system where your overall would go up and down based on how well you played. So if you kept playing well, your overall would go up, and eventually you'd hit a 99. But if you took a few L's or played like trash, you could drop back down. And the builder, that shifted from archetypes to pie charts. It was marketed as more freedom. In reality, you were just choosing which pie chart you wanted to be stuck in. And alongside of that, badges now moved to a point-based system where you could swap them in and out. It was definitely a good idea, but 2K used it as a way to tax players, forcing you to spend badge points on things like quick draw just to have a jump shot that didn't take 3 business days to release. Overall, 2K20 was one of the last genuinely enjoyable years of my career, and it honestly made you feel like my career might be heading in the right direction.
Can I have your autograph?
Sure, kid. What's your name?
Tony.
Tony. Who is your favorite player?
Tony.
When they moved Mycareer into the city, 2K21. In 2K21, the story had you playing as Junior, a high school prospect living in the massive shadow of his legendary father. And this year, they at least let us go through the draft again, but of course, you were scripted to go number 2 every single time, which basically killed the whole point of them bringing it back. But on the positive side, the game actually gave you a real choice for your path to the league. You could go the traditional college route, or you could jump straight to the G League. And the G League was actually a pretty cool addition, because it let you play with and against former Mycareer characters like Jackson Ellis and ATM, tying the mode back to its own history.
We've been through a lot together, man.
This year, the game also forced you to choose between 2 different agents, one focused on Park and the other focused on Mycareer. And on top of that, one of the biggest changes this year was the builder. On next gen, 2K killed pie charts and introduced a system that gave you more control. Instead of being locked into a pre-made chart, you were given a maximum amount of attribute points, and you would use those to build your guy however you wanted. Very similar to what we have today. Lastly, we now had the city, a map so massive it almost made everyone miss the old neighborhoods. 2K21 showed that Mycareer wasn't getting harder, it was just getting way more inconvenient.
Look at him, look at those eyebrows, look at those lips, look at the nose, that's him!
That brings us to 2K22. 2K22 was the year basketball officially became a side quest. The story made us MP, a social media influencer and YouTuber who just happened to be a hooper.
This ain't YouTube.
You still had the choice between college or the G League, but that honestly felt secondary to MP's dream, which was being a fashion icon and a rapper. In this game, the story and the city went hand in hand. You couldn't have one without the other, and 2K hit you with a massive checklist of chores just to earn the title MVP of the city, which was basically when you beat the store. To make the grind even more annoying, you had to deal with Kendrick Perkins hating on you 24/7.
I swear y'all clowns wouldn't know Michael Jordan if he smacked you in the face.
But if you did manage to get through all of that and finish the story, that's when you unlocked the new penthouse apartment with a zip line that dropped you straight into the park. It was honestly a pretty cool reward, but it also showed just how much of your time was being wasted just running around the city.
I ain't even get my cardio in, so we good.
And by the time the game forced you into the mandatory catwalk and rap battles just to play your next game, it was clear the Mycareer we once knew was officially dead.
What's the results, Murray?
You are the father.
Next up, we have 2K23. In 2K23, 2K felt more like a reality show than a sports game. You played as MP again, but this time, the entire city hated you. You were drafted 1 spot ahead of a local favorite named Shep Owens, who, by the way, was your new rival. But again, the real problem wasn't the haters. It was the mandatory errands. You found yourself running around the city more than you were actually hooping. And the story started feeling like it was holding you hostage because it was impossible to play your next game without checking off a list of chores first. And in order to do that, you had to run around the city and complete the different quests. You were forced to do things like hand out flyers or even wear a hot dog hat to promote a local business. And this made most people just give up on the mode entirely. And it became a constant cycle, doing chores just to be able to play while getting trashed by the media and Shep Owens. By this point, the Mycareer we once knew was a distant memory. It had fully transformed into a mode where basketball felt like a reward for finishing chores.
Whoa, wait a minute. I've lived a lifetime of hot dogs.
What have you done?
That leads us to 2K24. By 2K24, the community wasn't just tired of the story, they were sick of it. After years of being forced to be a YouTuber, a fashion model, or a rapper, fans reached a point where they would have paid extra just to play the mode like we did back in the day. They introduced the GOAT path, which was a cool addition where you had a clear path on being the greatest ever, and that was by passing Michael Jordan, who was #1 on the GOAT list. But in order to do that, you had to win 7 championships, which is absolutely insane. And for doing so, all 2K gave you was a free outfit. And for the most part, if you wanted to, you could ignore the narrative almost entirely and just hoop, which honestly kind of felt like a relief. But in classic 2K fashion, as soon as they stopped wasting your time with errands, they started punishing your playstyle with badge regression. And this system, if you weren't constantly triggering a badge, it would literally go down. You couldn't just play a natural game of basketball anymore. You had to force shots and different moves just to keep the badges you already grinded for. And we really went from a simple mode about a kid trying to make the league to a massive corporate-led live service that becomes unplayable 2 years after the servers go down.
Are you having a meltdown?
A little bit of both.
Do I need
It's a
to
little
call
bit of
a
both.
doctor?
That brings us to one of the worst 2Ks ever, 2K25. 2K25 was the year 2K tried to play the "we're listening" card by bringing back the Mycareer and shrinking the map. But these felt like apologies for a mode that had completely lost its identity. Yeah, they gave us our Mycareer back, but it couldn't hide the fact that the line between Mycareer and the online city had officially vanished for good. The story was called Heart of a Dynasty, and it doubled down on the logic that had been killing the mode for years. You were a generational, once-in-a-lifetime prospect, yet you start as a 60 overall who could barely make a shot or even afford a basic pair of shoes in the city. And the story felt so disconnected that for most people, the best part of the entire mode was the ability to skip it altogether. One of the biggest additions was the introduction of the cap breakers, and these allowed you to push your attributes past their max, which people had been wanting for years. But they didn't even stop there, because they also added legend badges, giving you the chance to make some pretty OP builds. By 2K25, they weren't even hiding it anymore. Mycareer was no longer played for fun. The only reason you touched it was to grind badges and attributes.
My home, sweet home.
And that leads us to the most recent game, 2K26. By 2K26, 2K tried everything, even going as far as bringing Spike Lee back to direct the story. They start you in high school, then you get sent to play in the EuroLeague before you even touch an NBA court. And they hyped up the draft mode returning, but it was nothing like they said. No matter how many triple doubles you dropped in high school or Europe, you were forced to watch your guy sit there at home and get drafted in the second round no matter what. It honestly made no sense, and your draft stock was basically a lie. This year, they did at least give us build specialization, which was a cool way to upgrade your guy just by playing. And the Myplayer builder was one of the best we've had. For the first time, you could actually see the animations you were unlocking while you were in the builder. So now, you didn't make as many first build mistakes, because you knew exactly what you were getting. But even with a better builder and Spike Lee's return, the reality of the mode hadn't changed. And it's been years since people have actually sat there and enjoyed a Mycareer story, let alone the mode entirely. And that's Mycareer. From 2K10, when it was bare bones and simple, to 2K26, where every year feels like a new movie, and everyone has the same exact ending. Now the most important part, let me know what year was your favorite and whether you think it's gotten better or worse. But that's all for me. Smash the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. Hope you have a great day, and remember,
Stay saucy.
Ever since I can remember, I've been popping my collar,